What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy, and I really do not understand the progression of my beard sometimes. Like, when it's really short, it comes in dark, kind of like what you see around here, but then as it gets about this length, especially around here, you might notice it's lighter colored, but then when it gets longer, it gets darker again. I don't know. It's weird. But anyway, I got one sort of announcement sort of thing before I get to the main topic of this video. And the announcement is, there's a good chance I will not be uploading next Friday's video on time. If at all. I'm going to be visiting family over Thanksgiving, and I will either be there or I'll be traveling back from there on Friday, so unless I can get the whole schedule and upload thing to work, I highly doubt I'm actually going to get that up on my channel on Friday like I normally do. Worst case scenario, I'll even just save it as like a video for the next week. I don't want to just completely skip one, but at the same time, you know, being away, I'm hoping y'all will think that's a reasonable enough excuse. But just know that might not go with the normal schedule. So anyway, on to the main topic of this video. And I'm going to start off with a confession on this one. I did not vote in this most recent election, and I'm sure this is when a lot of people are going to be like, oh, well, you didn't vote, so you shouldn't complain about the results. In terms of how the vote itself actually turned out, I don't have too many complaints, really. And I think when it comes to this, a lot of people try and use that as like, I don't know, just practically a bludgeoning tool, like a mental bludgeoning tool, to say later on that, you know, people who didn't vote shouldn't be complaining about the actions of people in office, which is bogus, because if you did vote and you elected that person, then they, you know, if they go and do something that is against what you thought they stood for, sure, you have reason to complain. Or if you voted and you voted for the other person, and the person who got in office is doing something that you don't like, that seems like a decent reason to complain. And if you did not vote at all, then it's like you weren't even part of the process. Your complaint is not against the voters or the voting. Your complaint is against the person. It's like, okay, well, this is still affecting me, and I don't like it. So, you know, I am a human who is capable of voicing my displeasure. Can you not just straight up ignore me because of the sheer fact that I didn't vote? I'm a citizen of this country still. Is it wrong to want my voice heard, even though I didn't vote? And there was all sorts of other craziness surrounding this particular election, it seems, which everything just seems like it's been crazier since Trump took the office of president, but I'm not here to bash on anyone in particular. But the news of certain people not even potentially being able to vote because of voting laws changed, especially in, I think it was North Dakota, for example, of them having a law that with a certain, like, ID requirement that pretty much obviously excluded a whole bunch of the Native Americans living in that state. Like, come on, people. I can understand if you're trying to do something that's, like, nowhere near election time and you want to make a particular law, then whatever. But if you're doing this right before it's time to vote, it's super duper obvious that your motivation is to just not have this certain group of people vote. And you know it's excluding them. So, like, what the heck are you doing? So, that kind of controversy, I just found ridiculous and had me a little bit disappointed with the voting process in general, at least for any areas that applied to. Although, for that particular one, it's almost like it wound up getting more people to turn out and vote than they would have had otherwise, because people responded to that effort, to that law, by making their own new updated IDs that fit the requirement and going to vote. So, I mean, we could argue whether or not their intent was to exclude this group of people, but I think we can all say that it worked out okay-ish. But even just the idea of having people not be able to vote who are citizens of the country and are of legal age, like, if they want to vote, they should be able to vote if they fit those requirements. Another reason I don't agree with the whole if you didn't vote, you shouldn't complain kind of logic is because there are people who work during voting time, and there are ways to get absentee ballots and stuff, sure, but that can be really inconvenient to someone who is actually, like, in the area that they are registered for, but they're just working a ton. Like, some people need to do this so their families can make a living. So why are you going to bash on these people just because they didn't vote, but now, like, let's say Congress passes a law that makes it harder for them to get money when they're already having a hard time getting money, so now they have to work more, which means it's even less likely that they'll be able to vote because they're working more. And so, like, it's a vicious cycle for some people. So if you're feeding into this lie that you can't complain about votes and what people do in Congress if you didn't vote yourself, no. Like, don't. Stop judging people on a broad, sweeping generalization when you don't even know the person. Like, try actually talking to the person who is filing a complaint. See what their complaint is. See if that's even affected by whether or not they voted. And, like, there could very well be some legitimacy behind not voting. I'm not going to say elections are rigged or anything like that. I think the results of this past election prove at least somewhat that they're not totally rigged. But it also seems apparent there's some tampering, we'll say. Like, if I can look at a chart and see the number of people that voted Democrat and Republican, note that they are pretty close to each other, and yet find that Republicans get so many more seats in Congress than Democrats, like, that makes no sense to me. Never mind the supposed voter fraud stuff that happens in some areas and different things like that. And I'm also just going to add one last little thing. Part of the reason I didn't vote and haven't really voted much is just because, like, I don't want to make an uninformed decision. And I think a lot of people who do show up to vote, unfortunately, make uninformed decisions. They just blindly go with whatever the party representative is, or they blindly go with a particular person that it's like they agree with this person on one certain issue or two, and then they vote for this person because of that. Whereas, if you looked at all the details of that person, what their stances are on various things, it might seem like a little more of a toss-up. Or, especially... I especially don't agree with just blind party loyalty. I cannot stand that concept, that idea. It's like you're going in and you don't even care what the people actually stand for. So you're operating under the assumption that your political party is going to operate a certain way, and maybe they do, but if they go about it in a way that isn't really great, can we agree at least that there should be some compromise in how things are done? Like, having one party just be in control of everything, I think, has yielded some pretty ridiculous results these past couple of years. So I'm definitely glad that the Democratic Party got control of, I believe it was the House of Representatives. Either that or they got the Senate, and I have it backwards, but whatever. They have control of part of Congress, which should put a damper on some of the craziness that's happened. But anyway, so yeah, I think just kind of in summary, there are legitimate reasons why some people might not have voted. Don't be a jerk and be all judgmental just because somebody didn't vote. And if they're complaining about something that had really nothing to do with the voting process, like, what's the difference between another citizen complaining about the way someone's doing something versus someone who actually voted for that person? It's like, you wanted this guy, so now they're doing this. It's kind of your fault. It seems even less like that person should be complaining. But when you think about the fact that, they thought this person was going to do stuff a certain way and now they're not, then that seems a fair reason to complain and talk about it. And, ultimately complaining doesn't do much, but, talking to people about it and, having conversations, and, don't put a damper on discussions just because different people did or did not do a certain thing that you believe is part of how the country works. If the process itself has problems too, why do you want to be part of that? But anyway, like I said, there can be legitimate reasons for not voting. Stop bashing on people who don't vote, because then you're just complaining about the complaining. And, come on. Yes, voting is good. Voting is important. It does make a difference. Right now, it doesn't seem to make as much of a difference as it should in some cases. But here's hoping that changes. Really, I think when it comes to the next election cycle, what I'm going to be looking out for is, does this person care about the voting process and whether or not, people get to vote who should be able to, and protect the vote itself first and foremost? Because if you're going to have that be the significant part of our process and how the actual citizens are supposed to be represented, then make sure it works right. So anyway, I guess that's all I've got this time around. Just a reminder, next Friday's video might not come as scheduled. Just putting that out there. So anyway, that's all I've got. Like and share if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell to get updates when I post stuff. Hopefully. You could also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All that info is going to be down in the description just below this video. Below that, you can leave a comment. Is there some part of the voting process that I totally left out that means I'm a complete idiot, let me know. Or if there are other things I should know, things you agree with, disagree with, other ideas for things you want me to talk about, let me know down below. Anyway, that's it. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you all have a nice Thanksgiving. Hopefully you'll tune in for the next video whenever that comes up. I guess there's going to be my Monday video coming as usual, but then next Friday, I don't know. But whatever happens between now and then, yeah, stay cool, people.